the bottom part of the triangle. Perception, and then from perception you have belief. Belief you have judgment, and then the very last one, the green one, which means go, is action or initiative. The first one here is perception. Everyone at this table has a different perception for things that are happening in today's environment. All of us have different focuses on politics, on religion, on all these things. Now here's the problem that we have in making smart moves. A lot of times we try to convince people that we are right and they are wrong, rather than just broadening your perspective. And here's some key language. And I'm a communications expert. It's what I study. I'm a behavioralist. I'm certified for the Myers-Briggs type indicator, all that kind of stuff. But here's some language that I'm going to recommend if you don't walk away with another thing that you start using. When people have opposing views than you have, when people are trying to nail you and make you feel badly, if people are delivering news to you that you don't like, here's what you need to say. You may be right, help me understand where you're coming from. That's it. You may be right, help me understand where you're coming from. When you say you may be right, what do they hear?
You're right.
Yeah, but see, that's not what you're saying. What you're saying is there might be one little tiny thin thread of truth I don't know, I need to know more. Now be careful with the delivery. Because the minute you stand there with your arms crossed, with that look, you know the look your mother had? You know, you've got that look, and you say, you may be right. Help me understand where you're coming from, dipstick. You know, you don't even have to say the dipstick part, but they get it because it's translated in either your voice quality or your body language. So you may be right, help me understand where you're coming from. In communications, this is actually called the fogging technique. Because what it does, it diffuses. Just like fog does the sun, it helps you diffuse situations and still stand your ground. Because what are you doing? You're educating yourself. You're broadening your view. You're broadening your perception. Now here's the problem with perception. We know that you have 3 seconds or less to either open or close someone's mind to what you are saying. I'll bet a lot of times when you have a client that you know they need a will or a trust or something, all you have to do is say the word will, bam, that whole mind just slaps shut, right? Because what are they thinking? Money! You know, it's going to cost me a bunch of money, right? You know, or they say trust. What do I need a trust for? You know, so I have to be very careful because their perception of what I am saying is going to be interpreted according to their frames of reference. So I have less than 3 seconds to open or close someone's mind. Think about this. Have you ever met someone for the very first time and you just take one look at them? Just one look, and you just look at them, and because of all of your frames of reference, you look at them and you say, I can just tell they're my kind of people. And it happens subconsciously. Now on the other side of the coin, have you ever met someone for the very first time? You take one look at them and you say, I don't think so. And boy, for whatever reason, you know, like I know I have to be very careful with people named Stan. Because Stan was my practice husband's name. My first husband's name, you know. And I know, I hear that, you know, boy, that is so close, and the jerk, you know, idiot, you know. And I have to get through a lot of my own background and my perception of something simple like a name. When you get into the complexities of politics, and boy, are we going through it right now. You know, when you go through the complexities of the immigration law, my challenge for you is to learn as much as you can. Increase your education. Do what Donna says. Take a class. Listen to opposing views. If you watch Fox, watch CNN or MSNBC. If you watch CNN or MSNBC, I challenge you to watch Fox. Broaden your view because it will improve your perception, and I guarantee you that that perception is the basis to the way that we all think. And you are never going to change another human being. How many of you in this room have ever tried to change another human being? Let me see, raise a hand. See, I found out it makes for great first marriages, right? I was married 11 years, divorced 18, and now I have my 18th wedding anniversary coming up in November to the boy named Sue. So I feel very blessed with that. So that's perception. That's a quick review on perception. Now the next one we look at is belief. Belief is what is right and true for you. And so many people stay focused on what is right and true for them rather than finding out more about what is right and true for the other person. Isn't it the truth? So we know in communications, you communicate, I communicate 95% of the time autobiographically. And that's because it's about me. And the reason we do that, the reason we start just about every sentence with I, me, my, is because it's easier for me. Do you know who Rick Dees is, the radio guy?
Yes.
He always says, no matter where you go, there you are. You know, so we know that it's easier for us to communicate autobiographically, making it about me, because that's the bedrock of my belief system, rather than making it empathetic and about the other person. I'll give you an example. You're talking to somebody, and they tell you about they're planning their vacation. And so they say they're going to take their family to Disney World. You say, you know, we took the family to Disney World last year. That we had such a great time. Now, who is that about? It's coming right back to me, isn't it? That's autobiographical. If it were empathetic, what I would be able to say is, oh, Disney World, what were the other destinations you were looking at? So now it's about them. People like people that are more like themselves, people like people who want to communicate about what's of interest to them, not about you. This is one of the most difficult habits to change in your life, because it's easy. Because no matter where you go, there you are. You know, and it really is easier to talk about yourself than it is to draw them into the conversation. So really watch that, because their belief is what is right and true for them. Your belief is what is right and true for you. Now the next one, the judgment, this is my favorite one. The judgment are the choices you make. Now I believe that you always have three choices. You can take it, you can leave it, or you can change it. I call it the TLC of making choices. This is where your judgment comes from. Take it, leave it, or change it. When you're taking it, that means that in the moment, it may not be exactly the way you want it to be, but because you're going to research, because you are going to learn, you know that tomorrow is going to be better than today is. So I can take it right now, my panties aren't in a wad, I'm not getting all stressed out, I'm not getting all crazed up, because I know I'm going to broaden my view. I know I'm going to learn more. That's taking it. Leaving it means rejecting it, walking away from it. A lot of people have a hard time with this because it takes you to the unknown. It takes you to a place that you have never been. Just like Janet moving back to New Hampshire. Now your hope is it's going to be just like it was when you used to live there and everything else. But I can guarantee that it's changed. People that leave Phoenix and come back, it's changed big time. You know, and you look at economy and you look at everything else. However, it's something that you are going to do. You're going to leave it. You're going to reject it. You're going to walk away from it. How many of you have ever had to change a job because it was against your ethics and your capability of really working well? Let me see a raise of hands. I know I have. I know I have. And it's really hard. You know, I was hired away by Westinghouse from GTE after being there for 15 years because I worked for a jerk. You know, I'm sure you've worked for a jerk before. And I remember this guy coming up to me and says, and if you can't do it, I'll find someone that can. And geez, I'm jumping around and everything. Well, I was offered a job before that down in Atlanta at Westinghouse. I was living in Southern California at the time. And this doo-doo came in one day and he says, and if you can't do it, I'll find someone that can. I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you the option. I'm going to leave this job. I left California and moved to Atlanta. That was a big change for me. They're different in Atlanta than we were in Southern California. Their rate of speech is different than ours was. And I can remember talking to someone thinking, okay, you can finish that sentence. You can get through it. Let's roll them, you know. It was amazing to me. So when I leave it, it means I walk away from it. I take risk. We cannot achieve in life if we're not willing to take risk. And this is where a lot of people get hung up, because it takes you to the unknown. Always ask yourself this question: what's the worst thing that can happen?